So with a little Premier League and Championship football, it can only mean one thing. It's time for the fourth round of the FA Cup, and that's exactly what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be predicting the FA Cup fourth round with every team involving a Championship club. I'll also give my other predictions for the FA Cup fourth round that doesn't involve a Championship club near the end of the video. I'll also be predicting the one Championship fixtures, Stoke and Swansea first, and then I'll go through the 10 FA Cup fixtures that involves a Championship club. As always, if there's any questions you want to ask me about football, you can always follow me on Twitter and tweet me a few questions, or you can drop me a follow and I'll allow you to send a message. Some of you are messaging me, which is really humbling to me. I'll also give you a few questions on the eye icon up there, just so that you guys can interact and answer a few questions. I'm going to warn you now, I'm very hungover, but actually the last time I was hungover, I got 14 likes on my score predictions video, so let's see if we can get the same fate to happen this video. As always, if you like what you see, you want to see more Championship content, you want to see more football content from me, please make sure you do give this video a like, it is massively appreciated. Share the channel to as many football fans as you can, that will really make my day. And please subscribe if you haven't, or if you're new around here, all of that would be tremendously appreciated. Without any further ado, I'll stop waffling on. Let's predict the fourth round of the FA Cup this weekend. So, as I said, we'll start off with a one Championship game this weekend. It will be a 3 o'clock kickoff. Stoke versus Swansea. Now, Stoke actually have got quite a good record against Swansea, and at home they're improving their form as well, only losing once in their last 6 home games. With Swansea, they've won only once in their last away games, so their away form is a little bit stuttery at the moment. However, their win against Wigan was actually one of my better performances I've seen from Swansea. The way that the new signings were interlinking each other and the play that they were managing to make already, and the understanding that they had with the team, that to gel that quickly is really good and encouraging for Swansea's perspective. With Stoke, obviously they had a terrific win against West Brom last weekend. They played on the counter-attack and they stood firm. They didn't play the positive style of football. They're not going to play like Manchester City all the time. They played their style of football, and it did catch West Brom out in that one occasion only. And West Brom, despite grinding to try and get a result and a goal, they just couldn't break through. Jack Butland, I thought, was absolutely terrific in that game. He was alert and he managed to catch every looping crossing delivery without any problems whatsoever, and that whole Stoke team was so resilient, and they need to show that against Swansea. They obviously won the reverse fixture last time 2-1, and it was actually Stoke's first away win of the season. Following Stoke's strong home form and Swansea being quite weak away from home, I'm tempted to say Stoke will win. However, that part of me thinks, I think they'll cancel each other out and they'll get a 1-1 draw. Stoke have beaten Swansea their last 3 home games, but I see that ending today because I think Stoke, despite showing promise at home and promise under Michael O'Neill, I don't think they'll be able to do it in a consistent manner yet. They pulled themselves away from the bottom 3 a little bit. I think they'll get some sort of result, but it won't be the best result. I'm going to say a 1-1 draw. Now we get to our FA Cup games. We'll start with the North Championship one with Queen's Park Rangers going up against Sheffield Wednesday. Sheffield Wednesday have been a team that have been good in parts, but recently in a really poor run of form. Obviously, their last game was a very poor 5-0 home defeat against Blackburn Rovers. A game where Avi Luongo sent off really changed the game, and they ultimately couldn't recover. And Blackburn were just completely relentless and they were ruthless. They made Sheffield Wednesday pay by having the extra man on the field. Queen's Park Rangers had a good victory against Leeds last weekend. Probably should not have counted, but although out of both of the sides, I say Queen's Park Rangers did pose better chances, and actually in the first half especially posed quite a big threat as well. Queen's Park Rangers away from home have looked quite poor, but at home they've looked quite good, which is why I'm tempted to back Queen's Park Rangers in this game. And with their previous game in the FA Cup, beating Swansea by 5-1, if they show any of that against Sheffield Wednesday, they will be able to beat them. And I think they will do that by 3-1. I think it'll be a very convincing home victory for Queen's Park Rangers. I think both sides will rotate a little bit. Mark Warburton didn't really rotate the squad that much when they did play against Swansea, but we're going to have to wait and see what managers' approach to this game. But for me, despite the rotation, I think Queen's Park Rangers will win by 3-1 and be quite comfortable. So next up, we have Northampton Town going up against Derby. Northampton made it to the stage in the competition by beating Burton Albion by 4-2. They went 3-0 up in that game, and they were absolutely terrific. They really put Burton under pressure very early on, and despite Burton getting 2 goals, they couldn't get back into it. Derby have recently turned a corner under Philip Cocu. Performances haven't been perfect, but performances have on the whole been a lot better and a lot more positive, especially around the midfield. They obviously beat Premier League opposition Crystal Palace to get to this stage. Northampton are on a pretty strong run of form at the moment. They previously won 4 games in a row before losing that winning streak when they drew 1-1 against Leyton Orient. And in League 2, they're currently in the playoffs with only 1 point ahead of my beloved Colchester. I don't know if you guys seen this video, but I've privated one of my videos with my more 2019-2020 predictions where I predicted part of the League 2 table. I predicted Northampton Town to win League 2, so it was not a very strong prediction on my part. If you guys want me to unprivate that video and you want to see that video again, I ultimately got rid of it because I don't think it was getting enough attention in my eyes. If you want it back, let me know in the comments down below and I'll unprivate it and you can see it again. But going back to this game, I'm anticipating that Northampton could surprise Derby. If they play like they did against Burton Albion, Derby could be in for a shock. However, I think Derby will be able to be composed enough to deal with Northampton Town. I'm going to predict a little bit of an upset. I'm going to say a 1-1 draw and this goes into a replay. I can see Northampton having enough resilience to try and earn that replay. Derby may be a little bit off the pace. They may change a few squad players as well, following the few injuries that they do have. I think this will be a draw. I think this will be a 1-1 draw, but I think quite an entertaining game. Next up, we have Brentford versus Leicester. One of the games I'm really excited for. Brentford are the team on form at home right now with 7 home wins in a row. They have absolutely cracked it in terms of winning games at home. They've kept 3 clean sheets in the process as well. They are doing absolute wonders at home. Leicester recently have been unstuck a couple of times. They've still shown their strong form. They showed it when they beat West Ham by 4-1. Ayoze Perez and Jamie Vardy both playing very well. Jamie Vardy's been injured from this game and I don't know how long he'll be out for. It could have a big effect to whether Leicester finished 3rd. Obviously, they're 3 points behind Manchester City, but 8 points against 4th place Chelsea. So they're quite safe in that position at the moment. As of this FA Cup game, I can see Brentford really going all guns blazing in this game. I think they'll relish the opportunity to play Premier League opposition. As with Leicester, I think Brendan Rodgers will make a load of changes. He did make a lot of changes when they played against Wigan. And Leicester barely got past Wigan. They struggled quite a bit at the time of that game. For me, I'm actually going to predict that this will be an upset. I'm going to say Brentford get a 2-1 home victory. I don't think Brentford will be too changed with Thomas Frank because it's a Premier League opposition. If it was any team from the league below, I'd say Brentford would put their foot off the gas. But I think Brentford being in such a fantastic position in 4th place in the Championship at the moment, they'd want to try and test themselves against Premier League opposition if they were to get promoted. And I can see that in this game. I don't think it'll be a first team squad because obviously they've got to play in midweek. But as with Leicester, I think because of the many changes, I don't think that they're going to perform right at the same standard as they have done in the season, because undoubtedly Leicester have played very well. But Leicester are going to prepare for a Tuesday game when they play against Aston Villa in second leg of the Carabao Cup semi-final, where they're in the back foot of that fixture a little bit. So I think their focus will be more towards that than this game. So I'm going to say Brentford get a 2-1 home victory. Next up, we have Portsmouth versus Barnsley. Portsmouth have really turned a corner. They had a horrific start. People were calling Kenny Jackett to be sacked. Fans were really losing patience in him. However, somehow they've managed to claw it back, and Portsmouth are 7th place, only 1 place below the playoffs, and are joint on points with Sunderland, where themselves had a really poor start as well. Both of these sides, who were of course in the playoffs last year, have really recovered and actually both have got a firm grip onto the playoffs at the moment. As with Barnsley, the biggest news coming out from them is Abu Diaby. He has failed a drugs test, it looks like, and if found guilty, he could face a ban for 4 years, which will be a devastating blow for Barnsley. But following transfer business, there has been talks that Barnsley are trying to sign another player from Wolfsburger AC. His name is Michael Solibar. I think that's how you pronounce his name. I'm not too sure if that's right. But he's the captain of Wolfsburger AC, 29 years old as well. And what he'll do, he'll provide a load of experience and actual leadership to Barnsley's very young defence. He could be the answer that could really surefy and really tighten this Barnsley's defence, because it was really shown when they lost 3-0 at home against Preston North End. They really struggled to deal with Tom Barkhuizen, and he was running all over Barnsley's defence in that game. However, I think Barnsley will have a better response in this game. I see Barnsley being one of the few Championship sides to really step up their game this weekend. I think Barnsley under Gareth Struber, they've got a mentality that they want to go for every game, and he really was critical of Barnsley's performance against Preston. I'm going to say they beat Portsmouth by 1-0. I don't think there'll be many goals in this game because I think Portsmouth will keep it tight. They've proven to be quite a difficult side to beat more recently, only losing 6 games this season, which is the 3rd lowest in League One. But having said that, I do think Barnsley do have the capability to win, so I will say 1-0 to the away side. And a game I will definitely be keeping my eye on is Coventry City against Birmingham. Obviously, both of these sides have been playing their home games in St Andrews this season. And you wouldn't be surprised to know that Coventry have had a much better home record than Birmingham have this season. They've only lost at St Andrews once this season, which was against Tranmere all the way back in October. Since then, St Andrews has been a fortress for other League One clubs to play against. Coventry have looked unstoppable at home. Birmingham, on the other hand, they've lost 6 home games, actually losing more than they have won at home as well. So you would say that Coventry could be the favourites to get something from this game. Coventry are currently undefeated in 7 games and are one of the favourites to get promoted for League One following a pretty consistent start. They hit a rocky patch in the festive period, but they've recovered well, and now they've probably one of the favourites to try and get into the promotion places following the likes of Wycombe having a poor run of form and Ipswich having a pretty poor run of form as well. It's only been Coventry and Rotherham who've managed to really keep up their form up. I think following both of these sides' records, and despite the gulf between the two different divisions, I'm going to back for another upset. You know, I'm a sucker for an upset. I love it. I really do love an upset, and especially in the FA Cup. I'm going to say a 2-1 home victory to Coventry. I think they'll be really determined to play against the side that actually ground share with them. It would be a very sweet victory for Coventry if they do get something against Birmingham. We have another all-championship FA Cup tie with Reading going against Cardiff. Both of these sides had to get to the next round via a replay. Reading did very well to beat Blackpool away from home. They were very professional in their performance, and Blackpool pulled quite a strong side and actually did put Reading under pressure a couple of times, but Mark Bowen did very well to keep Reading prepared. He has recently signed a contract as well, Mark Bowen, so it looks like he's actually going to be their manager for a couple of years now. Cardiff have been a side of just being a little bit inconsistent, and so have Reading actually. Reading have had a fantastic run of form, but more recently, along with Cardiff, they've not won their last 3 games, both sides picking up only 2 points in their last 3 games. I could see both squads being heavily changed and rotated in this game, and I've got an instinct that I think this will go to a replay, but I think this will be a 0-0 draw, a stalemate. I don't see Reading scoring many goals. They've really struggled to score recently. They had to wait for quite a long time to get a great opportunity against Nottingham Forest. They somehow salvaged a draw. I absolutely have no idea how. But following Reading's fatigue, but also Cardiff not being in a very confident run of form at the moment, I'm going to say this will be a 0-0 draw going to a replay. And next up we have Millwall versus Sheffield United. This game was a very dramatic game last year. At Bramall Lane last year, this was match day 42, and this was one of the memorable games that I remembered of last year. There were many memorable and unforgettable games for last year, but this was one of them. Gary Medine put Sheffield United ahead, but John Egan got sent off in the 85th minute, I believe, for a handball. Marshall stepped up for the penalty, but his penalty hit the crossbar, and it was at that time, if the results stayed the same, Sheffield United would have been second place with 4 games left, and Leeds at that time were not beating Sheffield Wednesday. However, Jake Cooper managed to equalise in the last minute of the game, the 95th minute, and it was at that time that Sheffield United were absolutely unstoppable at home. They were in a very strong run of form. Them and Aston Villa were the 2 informed teams of the Championship. Millwall managed to stop them, and it really helped them because they were really in danger of getting relegated. But that point really edged them away from the likes of Rotherham. And following this draw, Leeds were put 3 points ahead of Sheffield United with 4 games left. And you wouldn't believe that Leeds United would not win any of their last 4 games, and Sheffield United clinched promotion with 2 games left. It's absolutely mind-blowing. The turnaround in the promotion race in the Championship last year, it was absolutely madness. We could see a similar thing happen this year, to be honest with you. But as with Millwall, they've got a really strong run of form in the Championship at the moment, obviously having a really poor start under Neil Harris. They got rid of him, which was a bold decision for me. But they brought in Gary Rowett, and he has improved the philosophy in the club. They're a much more attractive side to watch now. Bradshaw's been a great player to watch. Colin Mahone's been fantastic to watch as well. Jed Wallace has been great as well. Bill Kowski has been a very positive addition in goal. One of the top tier Championship goalkeepers in my eyes. Sheffield United have been a complete joy to watch in the Premier League. Being a Premier League fan myself, it's a little bit sad that they're not in the Championship anymore. I would really love to see the Steel City Derby become a thing again. because the Championship does not feel the same without that derby, but it's just one of those things. But I've been blessed to see this Sheffield United side in the Premier League. They've really, really adapted to it well. Gained some really big results in the process as well. Having said that, I'm going to go for an upset. Sheffield United weren't great against AFC Fylde in their previous round, and I think Chris Wilder's not really focusing too much on this competition, and that's just my opinion. They've obviously recently got Jack Robinson. But having said that, I think Millwall will be more desperate to get something from this game, and they have progressed in further rounds in this competition more recently, making it to the quarter-finals last year. So I'm going to say Millwall will get a 2-1 home victory against Sheffield United, but this will be a very entertaining game. I wouldn't be surprised to see a red card in this game because this was a fiery game last year, and I hope to see the same this year. Next up, we have West Ham versus West Brom. Both of these sides not in a great run of form at the moment. West Ham recently losing 4-1 against Leicester. They thought they could have gone back in there when they got a pretty controversial penalty decision, in my opinion. But having said that, they really took the game away where Leicester just completely piled forward. They found acres of space and they played some beautiful football, Leicester, and they really got past West Ham's defence. Poor down Randolph, honestly. He was making his return to the West Ham goal, but he was facing shot after shot and made some fantastic saves. And obviously with the injuries he's had so far this season, it will be very difficult for him to recover from it, and he was just not given a break. As with West Brom, they're really poor run of form. They've not won in 2020 so far, and have recently lost at home and against Stoke City as well. And if you compare the performances that they were when they played against Stoke at the Bet365, it's completely night and day. I don't know what's going on with the top two in the Championship right now. They're trying to invite the sides below them to make it a very interesting promotion race. But if this continues for a good month or even two, both these sides could even fall outside the playoffs. It could really be that dire for both West Brom and Leeds. They really need to pick up their form as soon as they can. Having said that, I don't think there's a huge gulf between the two clubs, if I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to predict that this will be a 1-1 draw going into a replay. I think both sides will have a very changed squad. I think Slaven Bilic's return to West Ham, I think, will end quite a sweet return for him, getting a replay against his former club. So I'm going to say a 1-1 draw. Next up, we've got Hull versus Chelsea. Hull so far been very inconsistent. I don't really know where to place my finger with Hull. They were dead and buried against Rotherham, but Tommy Eaves was the hero, managing to get a hat-trick. Chelsea dealt with Nottingham Forest pretty comfortably, although Nottingham Forest did put Chelsea under pressure quite a few times with a few contentious penalty decisions and some offside calls. VAR was definitely on Chelsea's side in this game. I'm really not sure with the process of VAR in the FA Cup. The fact is not in every FA Cup game. I don't see that being fair in my opinion. It's just been a running joke, and that's literally what VAR has been this whole entire season. We tend to have a really good record against Hull City. I remember when they were in the Premier League. Hull were one of those sides with Chelsea that if we play against them, we do seem to find a way. In the end, even though we don't really make it easy, we find a way. Frank Lampard obviously scoring an absolute stunner against Hull City. Unbelievable goal from him. One of my favourite Frank Lampard goals at that time. Hull will be dangerous if they put down their strongest squad. I think they will keep some of their first team. I don't think it'll be a full strength squad, and they won't be in fatigue since they were not one of the sides playing in midweek. Chelsea, on the other hand, had to play Arsenal midweek, so Chelsea could be a bit fatigued, and it'll be a very well rotated squad from Frank. This will be really close. I'm almost tempted to say this will go to replay, but I'm just going to edge Chelsea for a 2-1 away victory. I know we managed to clean sheet another Championship side in Nottingham Forest, but I think away from home, I think we're going to find it a little bit more difficult. I think Hull will play on the counter-attack, and Chelsea have struggled on the counter-attack this season and set pieces. And that is to Hull's strong point. So I do think we will concede, but I think Chelsea will just about edge past Hull by 2-1. I don't think it'll be an easy game. So we go to the final FA Cup game on Sunday. Manchester City going up against Fulham. Both of these sides played against each other last year in the Premier League. Man City dealt with Fulham pretty comfortably, beating them by 3-0. Leroy Sané scoring in around 60 seconds. He was really off the mark. And obviously Leroy Sané, as I speak about him, is still injured, and he picked up a very unfortunate injury at the start of the season. And him and Laporte, I think, have been two players that Manchester City have seriously been lacking in both ends of the pitch. I think if both players were fit, I think Manchester City could easily get close to Liverpool. And the fact that Liverpool are that ahead of everyone, it's just practically turned the Premier League to Serie A, Liga. As with Fulham, they've looked a little bit better. With Scott Parker, I think with him being in one of his first years of management, I think a bit similar with Frank Lampard and Chelsea, he's going to have good spells, but he's going to have poor spells. And he does have a really good squad in front of him, and they can hurt this Manchester City side if they have the right players for it, but Mitrovic is still going to be injured in this game. Bobby Reed could step up. I could say Manchester City running away with this one a little bit, although I could see Fulham trying to get a fight. They got past Port Vale by 4-1, but I think they'll also get past Fulham by 4-1. I think Pep will make it very clear that he wants this side to go as far as he can in this competition. Obviously, they do got to play midweek when they play against Manchester United. However, they're in control in this tie. They won't lose it. I'll be very surprised if they lose ground on this tie. And the fact that Fulham don't have to play midweek either, they could probably get a quite strong squad out there. However, I do think the gulf between these two sides is quite substantial. So that's why I'll say a 4-1 home victory to Manchester City. So here's the other FA Cup 4th round fixtures that I will be predicting. Burnley and Norwich, I think will be a close all Premier League tie, obviously. I'm going to say this will be a 1-1 draw going into a replay. Burnley have looked quite good. Norwich did have a great victory against Preston last time in this round. Not doing too well in the Premier League, unfortunately. It's been a shame because at times Norwich have looked good this season, but they've just have a really poor defensive record, which I pointed out in my Premier League predictions all the way back in August. So I'm going to say a 1-1 draw between both these sides. I think they'll be cancelling each other out. I think they're really close in quality. Newcastle versus Oxford's interesting. Newcastle obviously had to get past Rochdale by a replay. Oxford could cause an upset, but I'm going to edge Newcastle for a 2-1 home victory. Southampton versus Tottenham. Southampton have actually beaten Tottenham at St Mary's this year, and Tottenham didn't have a great performance against Norwich. They had to really dig deep to try and get a result out of it. Timo Pukki really put Spurs under pressure for scoring a penalty. Nerys will be back in goal, but I think they may put Gazzaniga in goal in the FA Cup game. I'm going to say a 1-1 draw. Shrewsbury versus Liverpool, I think will be a 3-0 away victory to Liverpool. I think they'll deal with Shrewsbury quite comfortably, even though they have done quite well in League One this season, Shrewsbury. And finally, Bournemouth versus Arsenal. Both these sides actually played against each other quite recently, and with Mikel Arteta in charge, Bournemouth managing to get a point out of it. Bournemouth could win, and with Arsenal having a very poor away record as well, I think this game will also end as a 1-1 draw and go to a replay. That wraps up my FA Cup Round 4 predictions. If you guys liked what you see, please make sure you do give this video a like. It's massively appreciated. Please share the channel to as many football fans as you can. And do subscribe to the channel if you're new around here or if you haven't done. All of that would be fantastically appreciated. But thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary if you saw the end of this video. And as always, take care.